Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Pardon the different hat tonight, but Turnip and Django decided to play tug of war with my press hat, so until I sew the patch back on it, it's out of commission. So you're just going to have to look at different hats every night for a while. But that being said, I want to get to my first topic tonight. I don't know about you all, but one thing I keep getting sick of repeatedly, time and time again, is seeing people that are elected to either the state level or federal level Congress, senators, congressmen, people that take an oath to protect the U.S. Constitution and serve the U.S. Constitution and their state constitutions, who continuously work against those constitutions. Be it because there's just something in it they don't like, even though it was there when they took the oath to support it, or even worse, because they're pandering to their own political self-interest, they're catering to a base. They can just want to be able to say, look, see what I tried to do. I wanted to do that thing you want to do that's unconstitutional, but they keep stopping me, but I keep trying. That gets on my nerves. You take an oath to uphold the Constitution. And yet we see politicians time after time support unconstitutional bills, write unconstitutional legislation, and so on. Then it gets passed, and then it's a big rigmarole of getting it declared unconstitutional. It costs taxpayer time, taxpayer money, and they don't care. It's not like it comes out of their campaign fund. It comes out of our pockets because the state defends the law after it gets passed, or the federal attorneys defend the law after it gets passed, and it works its way through the courts. Costs millions of dollars a lot of times, sometimes tens of millions of dollars every time they do this crap. And it's not just the ones that actually get passed either. It's the ones that don't even get passed. There are some politicians who every year put forward the same unconstitutional bills. Just give it a different number. And that has to go through committee, it has to be written, it has to be read, it has to be this, it has to be that, it has to be checked by lawyers, etc. Just for them to every time be told, no, this is too blatantly unconstitutional to actually even come to the floor. And that costs money every time too. And I'm sick of paying these bills while the politicians don't get held responsible for what they do. And someone the other day asked me, well, what could we do to hold these politicians responsible? I just can't think of something. I don't know what we would do. I don't think it's hard at all to find out what to do or think of something to hold these politicians responsible. One thing, like I mentioned before, if you write legislation that gets passed and then it gets declared unconstitutional after a court battle, you should have to pay those legal fees out of your campaign fund. At least as much money as you got in there. If it's deemed unconstitutional. Kind of one of those you lose, you pay things. I wouldn't mind that at all. But there's actually something I think would be better to do, and I think would work very well to hold politicians responsible when they write unconstitutional legislation, when they write laws that go against the Constitution. What we would do is we would institute a point system. If you write legislation that is declared unconstitutional, you get points against you. And I know a lot of people are going to say, but what if they don't know when they're writing it? They have access to legal aids. They have access to constitutional scholars. They have access to old records, and they know things that have been declared unconstitutional before that are exactly like what they're trying to do. And you know what? The Constitution didn't change from last time. So in this case, ignorance is no excuse. I don't want to hear that about, and plus it's not going to be a one strike and you're out thing. So they have chances to learn. If you make repeated mistakes, you're held accountable. So what I say is a point system. If you write an unconstitutional bill, if you write it, 3 points. If you co-sponsor an unconstitutional bill, even if you don't know it's unconstitutional when you pass it, if it gets declared unconstitutional, 2 points. If you vote for a bill that gets declared unconstitutional, 1 point. And if you get 5 points, you're barred from public service. No more political career for you. Now, I know a lot of people are going to think this is very severe because they might have good intentions when they write it and then it gets declared unconstitutional, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I don't care. Ignorance is no excuse. You don't get to continually act against our Constitution and then just go, oh, well. You get to be held accountable. If you're so blatantly stupid or incompetent that when you're writing legislation or choosing to sponsor legislation or vote on legislation, you can't figure out whether it's unconstitutional or not, even though you've probably been told by 15 people that if it gets challenged in court, it's probably going to fall on basis of constitutionality. And they get told that all the time. This might get passed, but it's not going to stand up to court scrutiny. And they're like, don't care. As long as I can say I got it passed, it benefits my career. We need to stop that stuff. And if you're so, like I said, if you're self-serving enough that you don't care and you're willing to blow taxpayer money, which should be your money, and you should get points against you. If you're just incompetent or stupid, you also get points against you. And like I said, 5 points, you're out. No more government service for you. Because I'm sick of people writing bills, and I'm not just talking about guns. I'm not just talking about people who write anti-gun bills. Because we see that all the time. We see them basically sitting down and thinking up new infringements on things the Constitution clearly says shall not be infringed. So if you sit down and write one of those infringement bills on gun rights, 3 points if you try to get it voted on. 2 points if you sign on to one. 1 point if you vote for one. And if it gets declared unconstitutional after you pass it, the money comes out of your pocket instead of the taxpayers. They've all got millions sitting in the banks. So I'm fine with that. I'm okay with them suffering the consequences of their actions. I don't want to hear excuses of ignorance or incompetence or whatever. They should suffer because of it. And like I said, not just Second Amendment issues. It's other things. If you try to pass laws that are either pro or anti-religion that violate the First Amendment, or pro or that are anti-First Amendment for free speech, or the wrong side of an abortion issue or any other issue. If you didn't try to deny people religious freedom or try to deny people, the right to medical access or to voting even. If you pass a voting law that ends up being unconstitutional, like if you say everybody's got to pay $100 to vote and then it gets declared unconstitutional, points. It's not just guns. It's just anything that is declared unconstitutional, because I think if they started being held accountable, we'd stop seeing all this garbage coming through Congress. Now, a lot of people might say, though, well, but if we do this, people are going to stop writing bills and they're going to stop co-sponsoring bills and you're not going to want to vote on things. Well, good. If they can't feel certain that this bill does not violate our constitutional rights as citizens, if they can't say, I have no doubt whatsoever that this bill is not going to violate anyone's constitutional rights, then they shouldn't be passing new laws. They shouldn't be signing on to new legislation. If there's any doubt in their mind whether it's constitutional or not, let it ride, let it go. There's too much stuff that does need to be done that is in no way a violation of people's constitutional rights. So stay away from the shit you think might be, because they know what things are and what things aren't, like I said before. So if your whole fear of this system would be that, oh, they just won't do anything, well, then good. I'd rather them do nothing than do something unconstitutional or bad. I know everyone always loves to say, well, it's better to do something wrong than do nothing at all. No, sometimes it's better to just do nothing. Well, at least they're doing something. It's better to do something than nothing. No. It's way better to do nothing than it is to do something blatantly stupid or harmful. So I don't care if they ever pass another piece of legislation that's questionable. Let them stick to the safe stuff for all I'm concerned. I think we have enough laws as it is now anyway. So that's my idea. I just want to hold people who write unconstitutional bills, who sponsor them, and who vote on them hold them responsible for their actions. Maybe some people might think it's severe, but I think it might go a long ways in making people who are actually public servants remember their oath to the Constitution. All right, next I want to move on to my favorite part of the show, gun talk. And tonight I want to answer some questions that came in during one of my live chats. And this is from people who obviously don't follow my Instagram account, because people have been asking me, hey, you traded in your Challenger. We know you had your carry gun set to go with your Challenger because of the Resident Evil theme. Now you've got the Mini Cooper Clubman, the John Cooper Works with a Deadpool theme. Did you make your carry gun match your new car? And the answer to that is, of course I did. In fact, it's still the same gun. It's still my Beretta Elite LTT, my Langdon Tactical Beretta, but I just went and got some Deadpool grips for it from Lock Grips. This is just one of the many cool designs from Lock Grips, the Deadpool ones here. I love these grips, so I just got some of those, put it on there, and I'm ready to go. Got my carry gun that matches my car theme. But someone asked me the other day, well, what are you going to do, though, when you need something more than 9mm? When you want something a little more powerful, or you just have an itch to carry a revolver? Well, that made me start thinking, well, I don't have a revolver that I could carry with my Deadpool vehicle. I'd have to make something. So I decided that's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my new Chiappa 30 DSX, my all stainless steel 357 Magnum Chiappa, and I'm going to make some Deadpool grips for it. I'm going to have to make them because I can't find anyone that actually sells them. So what I did is I just ordered some little lapel pins here of the Deadpool symbol, and I'm going to insert that in the grips. I bought the pins just the right size to put right here where the round logo is of the little rhinoceros head. So going to take that, drill it out, and then insert the grips there. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is start the hole. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take a Forester bit and I'm going to drill out that flat spot. But I'm going to drill it out just a little bit smaller than the actual medallion. The medallion is actually an 11/16. I'm going to use a 5/8 inch bit. That way I've got a little bit extra I can gnaw out around it, because those medallions are usually not perfectly round. So you're going to want to be able to have a little extra left there that you can work around and get it to fit custom. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is go to my drill press over here, and I'm actually going to center it on that round spot, and I'm going to drill it out. I'm not going to film this because I don't want to fuck it up, just because I'm trying to hold a camera while I'm doing this. But once I get it drilled out, I'll show you what I'm going to do to it. All right, as you can see there, I'm just getting it started. You just want to go a little bit at a time. I just did it at first to try to get it level, and then to try to get it centered in the circle there, because you only get really one chance at that. Looks like it is in there pretty good. It's pretty much centered. So now I'm going to just take it down a little bit deeper. All right, I got it drilled out here, but as you can see, it's just a little bit too small for the medallion to fit down in it. So I'm going to take it in the house, hand chisel that out till it fits it perfectly, and then I'll be putting them in. What I'm going to want to get that side to look like is this right here, because I've already done this side. As you can see, this side, the medallion sits right down in there. So I got to go get the other side to match this one, and I'll be ready to put these in place. Okay, as you can see here, I almost have it. It's just about ready to go down in there. It's getting pretty close. It just needs a little more taken off at the top up here. So what I'm doing is just taking my chisel and running it along the inside, taking off where I need to take off. Just making sure you're careful not to take off too much, because you can't put it back. So once I have that all chiseled out to where it fits perfectly, then I'll sand it all down, get this nice and beveled all the way around, and we'll be ready to glue them in. All right, now that I've got it the shape I want, I just take some sandpaper and start sanding it down and bevel out those edges. Okay, I got both sides done here, so I'm just going to mix up some epoxy and put them in there. Now, one thing that's great about the little hole here, where you end up with from the bit, the little sharp part of the bit makes that little hole right there. The good thing about that, and why you want to ream it out a little bit, make it a little bigger, is because when you put the epoxy right there and you push the medallion down into it, if there's any excess and it comes squishing out, it goes out the back, out that hole where you just chip it off later. It doesn't come out around the medallion and make a huge mess that you have to clean up. All right, it is now done. Now I can carry my secondary carry gun here without being embarrassed that it doesn't match my car. Now, when I put these in here, you can see that I decided to go at a right angle to the horizontal lines of the gun so that it is straight up and down when the gun is level. I thought about doing it along the lines of the grip, but I actually think this looks a little better, and I'm glad I did it that way because I do think it looks, like I said, better. And if you look here up close at how I did this, I think you'll see why I did this. I wanted the face of the medallion to be pretty much flush with the grip so that when you grabbed hold of it, you didn't feel that anything else was sticking out. But I still wanted it to look like it was mounted to the surface and not something that was just painted on. I wanted you to see that it was three-dimensional. So I did the bevel all the way around. That way you can see it's still a medallion, but it is flush with the surface. Now all I got to do is load it up with some Underwood Extreme Penetrator ammo here. And of course, just because you can't ever be too careful, one silver bullet just in case of werewolves. And now my 30 DSX Chiappa Rhino with its custom Deadpool grips is ready to roll. So there you go. You don't have to worry about me. Of course, my carry guns, both of them, my primary and my alternative carry gun, both match my car because, like I say, I ain't a savage. All right, everybody, I want to end the show today, as usual, with our viewer EDC of the day. And today we have Felix P. I think this is the first person I've ever met who's named Felix that isn't a cat. But Felix here, as you can see, is carrying his Smith & Wesson 6906. These are actually awesome little underrated guns. This whole generation of Smith & Wessons, they made some great carry guns that a lot of people just don't think about. And if you can find these on the secondary market, they're actually a good value and they're pretty decent guns. And he's carrying his in an urban carry lock leather holster, which I've never been able to try yet, haven't had an opportunity. And he's carrying it on a Core gun belt. I love the Core trackline belts. They are my favorite gun belts, so I approve of his choices here. And I wanted to show Felix today because, like I said, I think these guns are extremely underrated. They came around at a time when people weren't looking for lightweight carry guns. They weren't looking for aluminum frame guns. These 4-digit series guns, and even their 3-digit series guns that came before, the second generation, the third generation guns, are highly underrated, and you can find them for great prices when you actually do find them. And you'll have you a great gun that not everyone carries. So I approve 100% of this. Also, I approve of that carpeting. If that's shag carpeting, which it looks like it's shag carpeting, extra points for that. I mean, that gets you kitsch value points right there. Also, one more thing I'd like to say about Felix before we go here, other than the fact that I thought he was going to be a cat based on his name, I often make fun of a lot of the guys who send me pictures because they are gluteally deficient, I guess you would say. You know, they don't exactly have it going on back there. Well, Felix looks like he's got it going on back there. He is not lacking in the ass department. In fact, I would say Felix looks like he's smuggling midgets to safety in his own little personal underground or underwear railroad. So kudos to Felix for that. And that is our viewer EDC of the day. Felix with his Smith & Wesson handgun, his 3rd generation. I believe that's a 3rd generation gun. I always forget which ones are 3rd gen, which ones aren't. But there you go, our viewer EDC of the day, Felix P. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back tomorrow. Until then, I just want to sign off, as usual, by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, you know, it is what it is. It ain't bad, but it is what it is. It could be better. And as long as we continue to ignore the fear-mongers and the profiteers, the people that want to keep us angry and ignorant so that they can manipulate us and profit off of us. If we ignore those people and keep our heads about us, what things will be in the future, especially for those of us that enjoy our constitutional rights, what things will be is better.